Hey guys, it's Buddha Gem, and I hope you're all surviving the new and improved Great Depression, sponsored by capitalist greed and incompetence. It looks to be a real doozy, and I'm starting to realize why they called it the Great Depression. It's friggin' depressing. So yes, we're in the midst of a global economic crisis. So I can't help but be amazed at some of the comments I still get on how great capitalism is, or that capitalism really does work. Now, before we get too far into this, pull your panties out of the wad. And I know you're going to tell me we don't have true capitalism. Yes, I'm aware we have a mixed economy. But there's no denying that the world is basically built on capitalist ideas and institutions, whether you like them or not. That is, the bulk of land, labor, resources, technologies are privately owned and controlled. The Federal Reserve, for all you pesky New World Order nut jobs, is a private institution. So please spare me the rhetoric about true capitalism. And I promise I'll say the same to all the communists who constantly tell me that every historic example of communism wasn't true communism. Okay? Deal? Thanks. Okay, now let's move on. So what I decided to do is just randomly pick one of these more recent comments of how great capitalism is, which, again, I find it funny as we're sitting in the midst of this huge capitalist failure on every front you can imagine. And the one I picked is from YouTube user Ifons Vermeulen. I'm sure I said that wrong, but I tried. And here's the gem of his comment. Of course capitalism works. The Icelandic government went bankrupt because they spent more than they were worth. Capitalism gets rid of waste so that resources can be reallocated into better uses. This also applies to the 50 million jobs that will be lost this year. You may notice that people and companies that are providing useful, wanted services efficiently are doing quite well. Everyone answers to consumers. Get a clue about capitalism and mostly economics. Yes, I can't count the number of times a spunky little capitalist has told me to get a clue about economics. Apparently it's just too much for my small little brain to comprehend. Sometimes I feel as though I'm being berated by the zealous Christian who is trying to convince me that the needless deaths of 30,000 people each day due to malnutrition is all part of God's magical plan. It's all for the good. The U.S. shed about 100,000 jobs this week. But that's a good thing in capitalism, right? Those talents and resources of those 100,000 people will simply be reallocated into better uses. Yeah, right. And I love the line about everyone answers to the consumer. Isn't that cute? What I've done is I've just pulled some rather random factoids from my Google Reader account, things I've been reading in the past week or so, and I'm going to go through the list. One, to hopefully illustrate the enormity of this current crisis, it's driving me nuts that so many people seem to think that this is just a normal recession, bump in the road. This is huge, people. Second is to at least get you to question whether or not capitalism really works. More on that later. A glimpse at the glories of capitalism. Regulators in the U.S. shuttered 2 more banks in savings and loan on Friday, bringing the total tally of failed institutions in 2009 to 6. Fannie Mae estimated that it will need a capital infusion of $11 to $16 billion from the U.S. Treasury. A grim picture of Japan's deepening recession emerged on Friday when official data showed a record fall in the industrial output, a huge rise in joblessness, and sharply slowing inflation. The World Economic Forum is reporting global crisis has destroyed 40% of the world's wealth. The past 5 quarters have seen 40% of the world's wealth destroyed, and business leaders expect the global economic crisis can only get worse. According to the latest American Association of Railroads data for 3 weeks ending January 24th, 2009, commercial rail traffic continues to crash in the U.S. Leading the list is rail car loads of motor vehicles, which are off an incredible 65%. Zimbabwe has abandoned its currency. These teachers, doctors, and civil servants have gone on strike complaining that their salaries, which equal trillions of dollars of Zimbabwean dollars, are not even enough to catch the bus to work each day. The U.S. economy contracted by 3.8% annualized rate in the 4th quarter, but the decline would have been much worse except that the government counts an unwanted buildup of goods on store shelves as growth. A clearer picture of the scope of the weakness in the 4th quarter, which excludes the inventory buildup, contracted at 5.1% pace, the weakest in 28 years. Give you some more stats on that. Business investment fell 20% in the fourth quarter. Investments in equipment and software dropped 27.8%, the weakest in 50 years. Investments in structures fell 19%, the weakest since the first quarter of 1975. Businesses added $6.2 billion to their inventories after cutting them by $29.6 billion in the third quarter. And residential investment fell 23.6% in the fourth quarter. Corning will cut 3,500 jobs. And this is a list of, you name the corporation you can think of, and they're laying off thousands and thousands of people. The U.S. cut about 100,000 jobs this week in various sectors of the economy. In fact, state unemployment rates increased across the country in December. New data show, underscoring how the recession has spared few industries or regions. Iceland's government collapsed due to this economic crisis. The credit crunch has become so bad globally that it's led other nations to actually barter for food. Countries such as Russia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Morocco say they have signed on or are discussing intergovernment and barter deals to import commodities from rice to vegetable oil. Greek workers are up in arms. The Italian working class is revolting against the Berlusconi administration. Protesters in Iceland have exposed their government. And we have general strikes going on in France. This is just amazing to me. And what's really cool is a lot of this is anti-authoritarian in nature. It's not being led by a certain group or a vanguard party. It is really coming up from people's frustration, their insecurity with the current situation. In Greece, we have Greek farmers blocking roads. Things are bad. Things are really bad, and things are going to get a lot worse. But it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, it's times of economic crisis like this, like we saw during the Great Depression, where workers united, they joined together, and they pushed forward measures that helped. The New Deal. Now, don't get it twisted. FDR wasn't some benevolent fascist that just wanted to help working people. He was stemming the tide of revolution. Obama is in the same position. It's not that he cares about working class people. We saw one of the first measures he signed into law, for equal wages, and he's talked about, reversing the anti-labor policies of the Bush administration. That's not because he's pro-labor. It's not because he cares about working class people. What Obama is the protector of global capitalism, and he's going to do whatever it takes to protect and perpetuate that system. And if that means making concessions or doing whatever it takes to appease organized labor or different sectors in our society, he's going to do that. Okay, but don't get it twisted that he cares about you or he cares about me. He has a job to fulfill. Whatever you think about him as a person. But what's interesting about this point is if we do and are organized, educated, we can push forward for changes. Changes that Obama doesn't want, that the Wall Street bastards don't want, but that we want. And it's that balance between seeking reforms now, but always having an eye to the goal of revolution towards a new society. And you do them at the same time. It's not an either-or choice. Look, capitalism sucks. You could say it's not true capitalism, whatever you want to say. This is a capitalist system. The socialism that we see has been implemented by the capitalists. When the capitalists fail, who do they come to? They come to the taxpayers. It's socialism the way they want. There's another type of socialism, and it's a socialism that anarchists have been talking about for hundreds of years. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back. Peace.